When one of their own is brutally assaulted and thrown out a high-rise window by a mysterious assailant, a former group of costume vigilantes must solve an ever-growing mystery that threatens not only them, but the entire world in Watchmen. Hi, I'm Cinematico Magnifico of AmoralCrackpot.com, and welcome to the Nightly Chill. Watchmen, from director Zack Snyder and based on the classic graphic novel by Alan Moore and Dave Gibbons, is a flawed but highly enjoyable adaptation of a story once believed to be unfilmable. Now, yes, fans of the original comic series will find themselves conflicted by the way Snyder elects to faithfully adapt so much while also omitting or changing other key details. Some characters are more confident than originally written, or have their backstory glanced over. The ending is similar, but notably different. Even the reason why costume vigilantes are no longer active in this world is almost entirely omitted, despite that still being a core aspect of the movie's story. That all said, there's still so much done right here that even some of the more drastic alterations are ignorable, if not necessarily forgivable. As grand of a story as the original is, it's Watchmen's cast of flawed and deeply troubled characters that really establishes the comic as a modern classic. The twin plots that revolve around a murder mystery and a global threat are typical comic book fare. And at a time when so many adaptations of classic comic book characters are hitting theaters every summer, such things feel rather mechanical. Even in 2009, when the movie originally released, such plots had been done to death in both comics and Hollywood. But characters like the masked and hyper-violent Rorschach and the ever-impotent Night Owl struggling to find their purpose in a world that doesn't want or need them, that's a strong, engaging story. Their struggles and arcs are not just a stark contrast to the fairly light-hearted efforts from Marvel Studios, or the more recent and wholly underwhelming efforts from Warner Brothers, but also well realized despite this being a plot-centric ensemble film. Jackie Earle Haley as Rorschach is an inspired casting choice. Haley seamlessly slips between a troubled man who has lost any semblance of sanity to a hyper-violent psychopath to a sympathetic and almost selfless anti-hero. Patrick Wilson, meanwhile, plays the middle-aged Night Owl as a likable, bookish type who has begrudgingly accepted his new life as a private citizen, but his internal struggle as someone who feels as if the world has stripped him of his very manhood just oozes out of Wilson at every turn. And Billy Crudup's mostly CGI performance as the man-turned-god Dr. Manhattan carries with it a sense of loneliness and dramatic heft that might have been lost entirely with someone else in the role. Portraying a character who simultaneously has no emotions whatsoever due to his lack of tangible humanity and an inhuman degree of loneliness and heartache that comes along with that is a tough sell. It would have been very easy for anyone in this role to simply come across as bored or unsure of themselves, but Crudup somehow pulls off this balancing act without fail. That all said, however, the movie is not without its faults. One of the most unfortunate issues is how the movie's already limited female cast have their roles reduced even more in the adaptation process. The unfortunate truth of the matter is that the female characters, the mother-daughter pair who share the identity of Silk Spectre, portrayed by Carla Gugino and Malin Ackerman respectively, were never large roles. In fact, Moore's original story reduced them largely to the victim and child of rape, one of several notable, if wholly unnecessary, story beats glanced over in the final movie. Their contributions beyond this are almost non-existent in both comic and movie. Then there's this bizarre habit Zack Snyder has of stripping key scenes of any emotional weight. There are several times when a given scene is hamstrung by slow motion, strange musical choices, or simply emphasizing and focusing on the worst thing possible. Whether it's a very off-putting sex scene or giving entirely human characters superhuman strength at random moments, it's likely to pull viewers out of the moment as they scratch their heads and ask themselves, why is this happening? That all said, Snyder's Watchmen is easily his best movie to date. His choice to adhere as much as possible to the source material, both in its written content as much as its visuals, results in a faithful enough adaptation that is streamlined in the best of ways. The spirit of the story and characters remain intact, and the performances bring the characters to life in a way even Snyder's faithful visuals could never manage on their own. This is not a perfect adaptation, it's not even the best adaptation of a comic book property, but it is one that works in spite of some glaring shortcomings. And that's not something you can normally expect to find in those projects Snyder has more creative freedom with. And despite the way audiences and critics gave the movie a lukewarm reception upon its release nearly a decade ago, Watchmen always was, and continues to be, a movie worth chilling with. And in a time when comic book movies are the hottest thing every summer, it may resonate more with viewers now than ever before. That's gonna do it for us tonight on the Nightly Chill. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to like, subscribe, and follow, and also be sure to leave me any questions, comments, suggestions for future reviews, and maybe even discuss today's movie at greater length. And as always, this video is brought to you in part by our viewers. If you'd like to learn how to support this and other projects, please visit amoralcrackpot.com or check the description below. But until next time, y'all need to make like a tree and get out of here.